Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi, I'm Pip Mackay and welcome to Evolve Now, where we look at the mindset and emotional intelligence that creates success and happiness. And this program, we're going to be looking at how to avoid the drama cycle and be empowered in relationships. I think for a lot of people, even in business, their relationships can really affect their business success. And when we can have more empowered and more effective relationships, it can improve every single area of our life. So let's look at what we're going to cover. The stages of the drama cycle and the 2 steps to overcome it. How to identify rescuers, victims and perpetrators. How to stop rescuing people instead of helping yourself. How to stop being a victim of others' anger. How to stop your own anger at others' weakness. How to deal with negative, needy or overbearing people. And finally, how to stop arguments with others and to be happy. So let's get started. So I suppose you're probably wondering, well, what is the drama cycle? Well, it's really interesting because it was first talked about by Karpman, who was a doctor, in 1968, and he was looking at fairy tales and script drama analysis. And what he was seeing was that there were 3 major relationships in a fairy tale. There was the victim, there was the perpetrator or the villain, and there was the rescuer, the knight in shining armour. And what he started to realise was that in fact many of us, our relationships have these 3 characters in them. And even the relationship between 2 people might cycle around those different stages. The victim, the perpetrator and the rescuer. And this is what we're going to look at, because when we can understand how not to be in these positions in relationship, we really find ourselves incredibly empowered. Whether that's our intimate love relationship, our relationship with our children, teenagers, or even our relationships with staff at work. So the very first time I heard about the drama cycle, I was at a personal development training, and they were talking about the drama cycle in terms of how it explains the way people are in relationship with maybe an alcoholic. So whereas the alcoholic is addicted to the alcohol, the person who's in relationship to the alcoholic is actually addicted to the drama of the drama cycle that happens inside a relationship like that. So just to explain it, so to begin with, it might be that the person in relationship with the alcoholic is a victim, and perhaps the perpetrator is then hitting the person or abusing them in some way. And so this person, the alcoholic's the perpetrator in that moment, and then the person in relationship is the victim. But what makes the drama cycle interesting and therefore addictive and heightens people's adrenaline, that also creates addiction, is that it doesn't just stay there. Then say the alcoholic feels really bad about what they've done. They buy flowers. They become really attentive. They help the person who was the victim with other areas of their life. And now suddenly the alcoholics become the rescuer of the victim, even though to begin with they were the one creating one of the major aspects of the problem. But now they're the rescuer of the victim. The victim feels cared for, feels like, oh wow, I've never had anyone love me so much. The relationship's so intense. Often at this point in time, intimacy inside the relationship might be very exciting as people make up. Then what might happen is, say after a while, the victim's had enough of this. They've had enough of the perpetrator being the perpetrator and then the rescuer. So then all of a sudden they decide, I'm going to leave. Now all of a sudden the alcoholic feels like they're the victim. What do you mean you're going to leave? In my hour of greatest need. You're not fair. All the things I've done for you, how I've helped you, and now you're just going to leave me? And then all of a sudden, the person who's in relationship, who used to be the victim, feels bad. They feel guilty. Now they go, oh, I better not leave. And they move into the rescuer position. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, I'll never leave you. I'll love you forever. Oh boy, it doesn't matter what you do. I love you and I'm going to stay with you. And then they stay in, suddenly they're in the rescuer position. And then inside this relationship, it goes round and round and round. And we see a lot of people's needs being met. There's lots of connection. There's lots of significance if you're the rescuer or the perpetrator. There's a lot of people feeling certain because they feel like, oh, wow, I can be certain of this relationship. There's variety because people are moving around different sections. So there's a lot in this that's keeping the person stuck and addicted to the relationship. Now, when I saw that, I thought, oh, goodness me, I don't think you have to be in a relationship with an alcoholic to be in the drama cycle. And when I looked at intimate partners I was with, when I looked at staff, when I looked at my relationships with many of my friends, I was horrified to realize that, in fact, most of it was in the drama cycle. Then when I started coaching people, I realized that in actual fact, the drama cycle is the majority of the way the majority of people have their relationships, unless they've done some work to really develop their relationships into something that is much more mature and much more useful and empowered. And, you know, a lot of people who are coaches end up in a drama cycle with their clients, and this is not a good thing. So it might look like this. The person who comes, the client, comes and, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, all these things are happening in my life, but, you know, I don't have very much money and I can't afford your fees. And then all of a sudden the coach is going, oh, well, I need to rescue that person, poor person. So instead of making the person responsible for themselves and believing that they can find the money to pay for you, suddenly the person believes that they are a victim, goes into rescuer and is doing all this pro bono work with the client. Then after a while, the person who is the coach is like, oh boy, this person takes up so much of my time. I'm doing it pro bono, and yet they're always on the phone trying to contact me, and they get a bit annoyed and resentful. Then maybe one day they say, oh, look, you know, it's too much. I can't be doing this anymore. And suddenly they might even be a little bit angry. And now the person who's the client is like, oh boy, how dare you treat me like that? And then they get angry with the coach. Well, it wasn't working anyway. I'm so happy I never paid for this. And then all of a sudden it goes around. Maybe the coach goes, oh, I'm sorry, I just was having a bad day, and you know, look, of course I will coach you again, and I'm sorry I did that to you at your most tough time. And then suddenly they're round and round in the drama cycle going on. But this might happen with your staff if you're in a small business. You know, a staff member comes in and they've always got some sort of drama going on. So, you know, they're always not well, or they're always got problems at home, or it might be going on and on and on. And they're always this victim, and then the boss is rescuing them. Oh, look, you know, I'll give you that time off, blah, 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 blah. But before you know it, the boss has now become a victim of the victim because they can't get in their work done. Every time they assign the person a task, the person doesn't get it done. Now the business can't run. Now they're paying money out for somebody who's unproductive. Then they get angry. They go to sack the person. The person goes, no, you can't sack me. Then there's a legal battle, and there's a whole big drama going round and round and round. So in actual fact, the majority of people's relationships are like this. You might have a friend where this is happening, exactly the same thing going round and round. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that we're not compassionate to staff members if they're unwell and they're productive and they pull their weight. But the amazing thing is that it's often that people are playing a game, really, and that game is actually drawing you in to a whole drama cycle. Now you might think, hang on a minute, sometimes I think I might be playing a drama cycle with myself. And that is also possible. People often have drama cycles with their health or with their weight. They feel like they are a victim of their own body. Oh my gosh, I feel so tired. But they don't realize that because they were treating their body so badly when doing lots of workaholic behavior, their body's actually a victim of their behavior. And then their body gets tired, and then they become a victim of their body. Then they go, oh, I better do something, and they take some supplements, or they do something for their health for a while, and they become the rescuer of their own body. And then suddenly there's a lot of work on and they become a victim of their work, and it just goes round and round in a drama cycle. And you might find this going on for yourself in lots of areas. It might even be where you think, gosh, I've just sabotaged my success. So you find that you just got to a particular level of money and stability, and then all of a sudden you did something to spend all the money. And you just overspent, and suddenly you're the perpetrator of your own finances. And then suddenly you're the victim because now you don't have any money, and then you've got to work really hard to rescue yourself from that financial situation, and it goes round and round. This is actually the majority of people's relationship with money. So what do we do about it? Well, what we need to do is we need to first of all observe our behaviour. Observe our behaviour with others, observe our behaviour with ourselves. And then what we need to do is look at, how am I playing this game with myself? Now, I am calling it a game, but that doesn't mean it can't be incredibly serious. This exact same relationship is what creates domestic violence, creates even sometimes murder of people in a domestic situation. So it can be extremely serious. And usually, you'll see in those situations that it didn't just happen all of a sudden. There's often years and years and years of this set of circumstances. And there might come a point where the person really feels like they can't leave, but maybe years and years and years earlier, they could have. Maybe years and years earlier, they might have been able to be more discerning and not choose that person to be in relationship in the first place. So this, of course, doesn't mean that we blame a victim for what's going on. But if we want to be empowered, and if we want to empower people who have been victims, then people need to realise that they've got more choice than they realise. Then after we become an observer of this cycle, then we want to become the creator of our own life. So instead of spending all our time rescuing others, maybe it's time to look at our own life and see how we can make sure that we're creating our life the way that we want it to be. And you'll find that when you pull yourself out of drama cycles, you will have so much time and energy to follow your passion and purpose. In fact, if there's too many drama cycles in your life, you simply cannot follow your passion and purpose because you don't have the time to. And not only that, but people you're in relationship with who are addicted to this drama cycle, they won't even want you to follow your passion and purpose because at the moment, they've got all your attention.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit Bryn.ai or search the App Store today.